Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan started a tour to the Persian Gulf this week. His tour, that started in Bahrain, appeared to have been part of a policy to strengthen relations with regional allies. But what caught the attention of many was an arms agreement with Myanmar. This already provoked certain sensitivities, specifically when considering that Bahrain has been suppressing a Shia pro-democracy movement for several years now. This can also be interpreted as a message against Iran. Turkey may yet again be shifting its alliance towards the US and its regional Persian Gulf allies, such as Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. Myanmar's regional allies, such as Saudi Arabia, have already drawn in international scorn for supporting the suppression against the Shias. It appears that the international community has a new target to aim for, joining hands with Bahrain in its bloody crackdown against dissent. This puts Turkey in the company of other countries that provide arms to Bahrain. At the top of the list, the US and the UK.
There's so many contradictions around Turkey right now, and there are so many objective things that are in flux, including what U.S. policy in the region is going to be going forward, and what the relationship between the U.S. and Russia is going to be, and what Turkey's relationship with Russia and the U.S. is going to be. These are all in flux at the moment.
Erdogan's next stop may have had a higher significance in terms of the dynamics of regional politics. In Saudi Arabia, the Turkish leader met King Salman, and the situation in Syria appears to have been a key topic in their meetings. This comes at an extremely sensitive juncture, and at a time that Turkey is making advancements in its military campaign inside the Syrian territory. Ankara, which backs the anti-Damascus Free Syrian Army, among other groups, is in fact already presenting itself as a new player with regards to the crisis in Syria, and it is to the same degree forming a stronger alliance with other players like Saudi Arabia, whose struggles to remove Syria's president Bashar al-Assad from power have already failed. Many believe that what may look like Erdogan's unending ambitions will not be free from consequences for the whole region.
Turkey is, farming this particular market like the Saudis, like the Emirates, and that is in contradiction to its new role, at least most recently, in Syria, where it seems to be moving towards an alignment with Russia and Iran. So the entire thing is riddled with contradictions, and unfortunately what it means is that there will be more weapons, or in any event additional weapons, pointed at the Bahraini people by their government, the Saudi occupiers, and whoever else is acting as agents, really, of the United States, which has a massive naval base in Bahrain.
Erdogan's new diplomatic campaign to strengthen ties with Persian Gulf countries follows a change in leadership in the White House. The chances are high that the Turkish president is purposely following a line of policy to catch the attention of Donald Trump. His persistence that a safe zone should be created in northern Syria, the same thing that Trump has called for, could be in the same direction.
Erdogan's position is tentative if he relies entirely on the United States. We saw an outreach to Russia, a sort of a rapprochement, a reorientation of policy, at least nominally so far, towards Syria, with some on-the-ground actualization of that. So it's a schizophrenic policy, but I think it's one that is still under development. We're going to see where it goes as time goes on.
A look at the current state of things in Syria show that the terrorists fighting the central government are already losing the war. A multiple-year war that has killed hundreds of thousands, displaced millions, and devastated a nation. The ambitions that the Turkish president is pursuing will provide no help in ending this crisis, and only promise the deterioration of Syria's situation.
Antonio Guterres is the new chief of the United Nations, and since coming to power at the beginning of the year, he has hardly made any moves to make up for the poor performance of his predecessor, Ban Ki-moon. But now it has emerged that the UN's top diplomat is considering the appointment of a controversial figure for the post of Under-Secretary General. Tzipi Livni has reportedly received a phone call from Guterres' office over the appointment. The details are still murky, but the idea could prove to be one of UN's gravest mistakes.
Well, Tzipi Livni was not only involved in war crimes, she was very proud of it. And she was quoted after the early 2009 Gaza massacre to say that this restored Israel's deterrence. And she said, this shows Hamas that we can go wild, and this is a good thing.
Livni's record is hardly defendable. Her parents were members of a paramilitary Zionist organization involved in the killing of Palestinians before the creation of Israel. She had served in the Israeli army and the spy agency Mossad. There, she took part in an operation, the Wrath of God, that was designed to assassinate Palestinian fighters. While she was Israel's foreign minister, the Tel Aviv regime launched a deadly military campaign against Palestinians living in the Gaza Strip.
And it's not only that she committed the war crimes, she's still very proud of it and said that she would do the same thing again. So clearly, Livni is extremely unfit to hold any international office.
The 2008 aggression cost the lives of over 1,400 Palestinians. She's also responsible for the years-long siege imposed on the Gaza Strip.
What concerns the outside world, it seems, most of all is the civilian deaths. Now, the death toll is approaching 300. Approximately a third appear to be civilians.
No civilians.
Well, Hamas is saying maybe 180 of its men have been killed. That leaves about a third of civilians. Do you not accept those figures?
We don't accept these figures.
And that's not all. An arrest warrant has been issued for Livni in London over her war crimes in Gaza. And just recently, she canceled her trip to Brussels over concerns that she might be arrested. And now, this wanted fugitive has been considered for a UN post.
And the fact that she is considered a moderate in Israel tells you more about the extreme spectrum of Israeli politics rather than any moderation on Livni's part. She's a very clear war criminal and totally unfit for this role.
Israel is getting increasingly isolated. Its continued settlement expansions in the occupied Palestinian territories has drawn international outcry. Late December of last year, a historic resolution was passed at the UN Security Council condemning Tel Aviv's settlement expansions. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has launched a massive lobby campaign to lift pressure off Israel.
So clearly the influence of the USA in the Security Council, openly they have a veto. They can stop anything that they don't like, and they always do this in the case of Israel. But they also virtually always stop anything in support of any recognition that the Palestinian people have a political right.
Is Livni's proposed UN role because of Washington's support?
I mean, even as recently as the end of 2014, John Kerry mentioned Livni when he was talking to other diplomats to say that he had opposed a pro-Palestine motion, a motion to the Security Council in favour of restarting and pushing forward the peace process. Kerry said he had opposed this after a conversation with Livni, who asked him to oppose it.
Let's not forget that the administration of President Donald Trump interfered with the nomination of a former Palestinian prime minister to a UN post.
Fighting over the Syrian town of Al-Bab continues between Turkish troops and allied anti-Syria militant groups on the one side and Daesh on the other. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has said the capture of Al-Bab is only a matter of time. Erdogan added that after capturing the town, the Turkish forces and the militants will move on towards the Syrian city of Raqqa, which is now under Daesh control. In his comments, the Turkish president also said Ankara plans to create a safe zone in Syria.
The step we are taking by cleansing Al-Bab of Daesh is aimed to a goal. After Al-Bab, we'll move towards east to Manbij and Raqqa. If we can take a joint step with coalition forces, we are aiming to establish a safe zone cleansed of terrorist elements. Arabs and Turkmen groups in particular will find the opportunity to settle in this safe zone.
Apart from the worrying plan, what caused further concern was the venue where Erdogan unveiled Turkey's plan to create a safe zone in its Arab neighbor. It was in Bahrain, where sworn enemies of Syria were present: Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and other Persian Gulf Arab states. Erdogan also noted that he had earlier discussed the matter with U.S. officials, while saying a no-fly zone would also be needed for the region, which will be carved out as a safe zone.
Erdogan made it very clear that there would have to be a no-fly zone. I believe he explicitly said that in order for there to be a quote-unquote safe zone. And of course, the Syrian government has responded by saying that they reject this idea, that this would be a blatant violation of Syria's sovereignty.
Turkey launched an incursion into Syria several months ago under the pretext of pushing back Daesh and Syria's Kurdish fighters from Turkish territory. But Turkey has pushed too deep into Syrian soil. Manbij, Al-Bab, and Raqqa, these are regions where there are no Kurdish forces. In his speech in Bahrain, Erdogan said he planned a safe zone in Syria would cover an area of up to 5,000 square kilometers. After the Turkish incursion into Syria, Damascus condemned the intervention as a violation of its sovereignty and territorial integrity, demanding Ankara immediately pull out of Syria.
Turkey clearly is most concerned not about ISIS in reality, but about the YPG and about any Kurdish formation that they believe would also lead to the possibility of independent or autonomous region inside Turkey where the largest number of Kurds live. So it's a very complex situation.
Turkey did not speak of a so-called safe zone in Syria until recently, and it did only after the new U.S. president told American media he would definitely do safe zones in the Arab country. This has made supporters of Syria's territorial integrity skeptical. Though Ankara has said it does not seek to stay in Syria, this denial has failed to be persuasive. This is seen by some observers as a first step towards realizing the U.S. aim under its previous administration, the partition of Syria. The Syrian government's foreign adversaries have so far failed to achieve their goal through military means. Turkey's latest announcement comes ahead of the peace talks between Syria and foreign-backed militant groups in Kazakhstan. The Arab country will definitely flatly reject any plan which would compromise its territorial integrity in favor of Israel.